Hi! I'm a little early, but it is Melissa. I'm waiting for a few friends to hop in. So I'm just going to talk to myself.
I'm new to the Google Hangout thing. I did one yesterday. It looks like I can watch, but I don't see a link to join in.
Excuse me one second. Jen, I invited you. So somewhere in your Google Plus, if you go into your Google Plus account, you should see an invite. I'll do another one and see if you get that one. I might shut the blind behind me. Please hold. I think that's better. I don't like that. There we go. So we're going to talk about ELL students in our classrooms. I am an ELL teacher in Ohio, and I have been an ESL teacher. I say ESL, ELL, it means the same thing, but I have been an ESL teacher for 13 years, and I have been teaching for 15. So I'll be starting my 16th year of teaching here in a few weeks. I can't believe it's August already, and that we have to start thinking about going back to school. But it'll be great nonetheless. I'm wondering, is there a way that I am able to see who is viewing or no? I don't know. I'm not really proficient in the Google Hangout. I have asked a lot of questions to my PLN about how to do it. So hopefully, I think you can all see me because I see there's viewers. So down there, you can also see my Twitter handle. You can follow me there. And I did play around. There's some kind of cool things. I can showcase different websites. I think you can see that. So here is, I'm going to delete those because you guys don't need to see those. But there is my website. And I noticed earlier while I was watching, see, it changes every once in a while and shows you different blog posts that I've done. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's also this question and answer column. Please write any questions down that you might have. Because this is live, it's kind of hard to have a conversation. So it's really you listening to me. So if you can throw some questions in, or if you can tell me who you are, your name, where you teach, what subject area you teach in, and we can maybe get rolling that way. I am going to listen very quickly to a Voxer message from my friend Jen, who's trying to get in and be on my panel here. So give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. If you could put your name and some information there, just pose it as a question, and so I can kind of refer to that. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Hmm. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. Let's see. Sharon from Texas, fourth grade. Is that English language arts, correct? I think so. What websites do you recommend that are free that are good for ESL students for grade 4? Are we talking, I'm assuming, to be able to learn a little bit more English? One that I use a lot, which is kind of juvenile for fourth grade maybe, is Starfall. I've also used Tumble Books. We can get Tumble Books through our public library if we have a, I almost said a license, a library card. And it reads books aloud to the students. What I like is it highlights the words in red that it's saying. And then there are quizzes and some different things. I know there are a bunch of different programs out there. The district in which I teach has not bought into those. I'm lying to you, other than Rosetta Stone. But that is very costly, and I would never recommend that. And especially you said free. So there are a lot of great apps that you can use as well. Let me see, I'm not, I don't think I can type answers back to you, but some great apps that I've used. If you look up Lakeshore in the App Store, I'm an Apple user, so I'm not sure about Google and Android, but Lakeshore has a lot of really great apps that you can use with your students, with beginning sounds, rhyming, beginning letter sounds. I already said that, sorry. And some different things like that. There are also a lot of really great interactive sites. I can pull some of those up. I think I can share them with you here. So give me just a second. I just last year was able to get, actually I went to an ed camp and I won a interactive whiteboard system. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was awesome. And I was able to what am I saying? With a projector that I bummed off of another teacher, I was able to put a lot of these interactive sites up through my my projector through my laptop. And here I am just, says Language Arts ABCs. That is a really great, they have a lot of interactive programs that the kids can do, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I also use Kahoot a lot for different activities. I don't know if you're familiar with Get Kahoot. Let me type that in here real quick. It's pretty awesome. It is a quiz type. No, that's not it. Sorry. It's a quizzing program that you can set up quizzes on your own. You put all the choices in, and the students get to answer interactively with their smartphones, iPads, any sort of devices that they might have in the classroom. So let me go back to some questions. Sorry. So we have Sharon. Oh, Voxer. Voxer is an app. Can you see that? It's kind of blurry. But it is an app on your telephone that, let me show you what it looks like. It's right over here. It's like a walkie-talkie, and I leave messages for people. People leave messages for me. I'm in a lot of different education groups. There is one for ELL teachers that I started. And Jen, my friend Jen, who was trying to get in, said she was watching me watch or listen to her message. But it is an app on your phone that you download, and you can communicate with other educators. It's like like I said, it's a walkie-talkie, but it leaves messages, and you get notifications, and you listen to it when you can, and then you speak back to them through that app. Oh, Raz Kids is a good one. Rosina, let me think a little bit more about some good websites. Okay, I'm going to leave that open. So, and Barb, you love Kahoot, as do I. I'm trying to get more people to use it, but people think we don't have enough technology in their classrooms, and I beg to differ. Rosetta Stone is very costly, but worth the investment, you say, Barb. It is. In my district, we only allow third graders and up to use it. So I've not had a lot of contact with it because I tend to teach the younger kids. Hi, Michelle Davies. You didn't tell me where you were from. That's okay. Robert from LA. Nice. My sister lives in Oakland, California, which is nowhere near you, I know. But I do enjoy a little California. I'm just trying to go through some. Emily is from Pennsylvania. Agriculture science teacher. That's awesome. Emily, where in Pennsylvania? I'm curious. Sorry, I clicked a button and it took me out, but you guys can still see me. Let me go back. There we go. So I've talked about Voxer. I have to delete the questions out on the side. That's what I'm doing. You can see a Spanish teacher, Diana from Houston, use Kahoot all the time. Erasma. Isn't that an augmented reality? I watched a Google Hangout last night about augmented reality, and it was so over my head, I had to leave. I couldn't take it anymore. So let me see. Do you use Babbel? No, I don't know what Babbel is. What is Babbel? There, Barb. Reading is in the language also helps them acquire the language faster. So as long as there's tons of comprehensible input. Thank you, Diana. You are so right. And that leads me to one of the things we were going to talk about, and that was one of the myths of English language learners is the fact that a lot of teachers will say that our students need to only speak English at school, at home, and it's not the case. Wait, who said that? Oh. As Diana said, there's a lot of research that shows that if you are fluent and literate in your first language or your second language, whatever it might be for some of our students, the easier it is to learn a new language because they just have to connect words in their mind. And I have been in so many parent-teacher conferences where teachers talk about, they really need to speak English at home and make them only watch English TV and whatever it is. And I usually will say, no, please don't lose your first language. A lot of kids as well don't want to speak their native language or their L1, their first language, which is sad. And I always try to encourage them not to. When they are new um, to me or to a school that I would be working at, I try to encourage the classroom teachers to allow them some time with acquiring the language. Of course, they're going to need time, especially if they've never been exposed to English. So you really want them to have the ability to read books in their first language, and encourage them to bring those in for reading time, because you don't want them just sitting there. Have them bring books in that they can read. If you're doing a journal writing or some sort of writing piece, encourage them to write in their first language. We may not always need to understand what they've written. If you have a bilingual aide that can interpret it for you, great. If not, they're doing something, they're practicing their craft, even if it is in English, or I'm sorry, even if it is in Japanese or Spanish. But I would encourage you to encourage them to do that. Barb, you've got multiple Hangouts going on. That's okay. I actually bopped around last night, so I won't worry about it. Yes, Diana, Dr. Stephen Krashen, you mentioned, is a big proponent of reading and comprehensible input. You are so right. And we really, the zone of proximal development as well, is we don't want to go so high above where they are that they're not getting any of it. So we just want to be a little bit higher and encourage them to get there, and then keep moving them up. Babbel is for foreign language translation. Understood. Somebody mentioned Duolingo. My daughter actually is teaching herself Italian. She downloaded it on an old phone that we don't use. So Rosina, you're asking, do I teach ESL push-in or pull-out? So my background is elementary mainly. This coming school year, I am being moved to middle school and 2 elementary schools. So I'll be a traveling teacher. It depends on the building, it depends on the administrator, but most of our elementary is pull out. I was told when I visited my middle school for next year, at the end of last year, that most of their students are in the regular language arts class, and that I would be pushing in and assisting them there. The thing with that is, and I see, Rosina, you said New York is pushing for push-in an ESL where the ESL teacher co-teaches. And that is key right there, Rosina, is there has to be co-teaching. I have gone into so many classrooms to support my kids, and I end up being a glorified teaching assistant. And I am a highly educated person. I shouldn't be just assisting. I should be able to teach my kiddos. And sometimes if I do go in, I do try to pull them to a back table or a side table, like if they're doing reading groups, and I can have my kids. So I think it's key to have a good relationship with the teacher that you're co-teaching with. So my hope is that when I start this coming school year, that I can build those relationships quickly so my students aren't at a loss for that. So Jennifer, you have said, do you suggest that primary students read in home language with parents at home if they haven't learned to read in any language? Is important? Is it important to learn to read in both languages? Jen, that is a great question. I'm not sure if I know the answer per se, my friend, but I I would encourage them to read their home language at home, um, regardless of whether or not they're proficient in it. It is so much more difficult for our students to learn um, English when they don't have that good foundation in their first language. So it's not, in my opinion, it is not going to hurt them to read in both languages. Um, and I think we need to empower our parents with some tools, some suggestions on how they can get their children to communicate with them, and by retelling and doing all those things that we do at school that we think everybody knows how to do, but not everybody is a teacher. So it's yeah, I mean, I would encourage, and I think it really depends on the student and their family. I would say it maybe goes on a base by base, or base by base. I meant case by case thing there. Diana, you love the idea. Where do my questions disappear? Co-teaching role. I think it is important, and I think it just needs to be done well and done correctly, in my opinion. Let's see. So I'm trying to delete through some questions. Google Translate. I have also used Google Translate on an iPad. Excuse me, because the students can, I think you can speak into that one. I have found that iTranslate is better. It tends to translate the words a little bit better. And, I love, though, when I use Google Translate or iTranslate and the kids are laughing at me because the app has twisted the words around so much that they have no idea. But it's all good. It's good for laughs. So what district is that? Barb, are you asking me? I teach in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio called Dublin City Schools. If you're familiar with golf, we host the Muirfield Golf Tournament every March-ish. Not March. I'm sorry, May. It's around Memorial Day. And the story goes that Jack Nicklaus, who built the golf course, built it over an Indian burial ground. So that is why it rains all the time. Take it as you will. Emily, I still think that's so cool that you are a agriculture science teacher. I find that so cool. The problem I find is, how do you know if an ESL student has learning issues in their home language? That is where it gets hard. You are so right, Rosina. And I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Do you know, that is a hard thing. What I have found is really having to question their first school, if possible. It's obviously, it's even better if they've come from another American school before they hit you. But sorry, I was watching my cat. But you really, sometimes it's a guessing game. It's really having conversations with their parents as well to say, to ask. Sometimes they will not tell you, but sometimes you need to press. Sometimes it's better if the school psychologist asks the questions as opposed to the teacher or the principal. So I would encourage you to employ the school psychologist to help you. It's yeah, because you'll find that, and it makes sense, if a student had learning issues in their first language, they're going to struggle in the second language. So it's important to know, and I find that that is a struggle, is figuring out whether or not students are learning disabled or if they just need more time learning English. There are no cut and dry guidelines to follow, and it's frustrating. And I think some classroom teachers expect that the students, once their speaking is fluent, that they know how to read a test and take it, and that they know that academic knowledge or that academic content, and they don't. So let me throw out some statistics for you. So when we think about ESL students, there's something called BICS, Basic Interpersonal Communication Skills. That is, I need to go to the bathroom. Can I have a drink of water? And those typically will take 1 to 3 years for a student to acquire. Then when we move to your CALP, which is Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency, that ranges anywhere from 3 to 12 years. So you're talking about, I am going to read this textbook proficiently. I'm going to understand this textbook. I'm going to be able to take your state mandated assessment. That is tough. And I think some of our state government people don't understand that either. In Ohio, our students have 1 year of exemption from the English language arts test. 1 year. We still encourage our students to take that test, but their scores don't count until after 180 days. It used to be 3 years. They did away with that. For some reason, maybe they thought kids learned English faster. I don't know. But we in Ohio are a little behind the 8 ball. So I'm sure other states are different in how they require their kids to take state assessments. So I thought there was something that, oh, Rosina said they do not test ESL students until learning the language for 3 years. Are you talking about state high stakes tests? That's what I'm assuming you're talking about. If I am not right, please tell me. Kudos to your state. We used to be 3 years, now we're just 1. Woo! But we claim that we give some accommodations, and we used to give interpreters, and so you could sit with an interpreter and your English test, and they could interpret certain things for you. We still do that, but when we took the park this last year, their accommodations were a little less than what Ohio had done before. But, you know. So Jen, you said, I love when students try to teach you their home languages. Me as well. I love it. My kids go, no, I'll say it 15 times the same way according to my ears. And they're like, no, no, no. I'm like, well, okay. So usually I just give up because I can't. But I love it. I always encourage my students to write their names in their native languages on the board, and I take pictures because it's beautiful, especially Japanese, Chinese. And a lot of my Japanese students go to school 6 days a week. They go to Japanese school on Saturday, and a high priority of learning in the Japanese culture, which is great. Rosina, you said how many ESL students should be placed in one classroom? I'm assuming you're talking about mainstream classrooms. Another good question. I am going to try to answer it while I let my dog in. I would say that it depends. Our school is not a component for, oh, I'm gonna have to let you go, hold on. Oh, sorry. Sorry. My dog needed in. Um, our district, the district I teach in, does not. We used to. Some principals wanted to group, say, the special ed kids here, and then the ESL students here. We are trying to not do that because we call that tracking. So I would say it needs to be evenly dispersed amongst the grade. If you have 4 classrooms and you have 16 kids, I say 4 in each, but I'm not the principal. So I don't know. I think it's also what you can handle. I know that we have some classroom teachers who are TESOL certified, or teaching English to speakers of other languages, which is the certification I have in order to be highly qualified. They tend to get a few more than, say, other teachers that are not ESL certified. But I think it just depends. I don't think we should outdo it or overdo it, excuse me. But I don't know. Okay, Rosie, thank you for clarifying. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thanks for the dog. Rosina, you said, I meant to recommend the kids for an IEP for ESL students. You have to wait 3 years. Oh. Is that what your state does, or is that what you're saying? And they have 1 year for the state. Okay. We don't have certain recommendations. If we know that the student struggled in their native language, I will try to encourage the testing a little bit faster. And some parents are a little bit more in tune to it, just like our mainstream parents. And, you know, we have to make sure that we're not breaking the law by identifying students who are just needing more time to learn English. And we can't keep, we can't identify so many students as learning disabled when they just need time. It's so hard. It's so hard. Let's see. Somebody was talking about Rosina. You had 10 ESL students this year with all different languages. It was challenging and very rewarding. I like that. It is challenging. I love what I do, and I hope that you had support from your ESL teacher, from somebody. That was one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about as well, is what sort of support do you all have in your schools? Do you have bilingual aides? Do you have teachers versus tutors? What is, how does the support look in your school? I do find that my job is very rewarding. I think, or I know that I see my kids learning leaps and bounds faster than sometimes the mainstream kids. And it's just so awesome. It's so awesome. Jennifer, you're making a comment about a 3-year IEP student as well. How do you get the administration to address the learning issues, because they are sometimes reluctant to go beyond the ELL issue? All right, Sharon, here's my thought on that. In my district, we have something that we call the SST process, Student Success Teams. Some places call it the IAT, the Intervention Assistance Team, or some people call it RTI, Response to Intervention. Excuse me. That is key. Trying to use different interventions and seeing what works and what's not working. In my district, we also have an assessment called the BVAT, Bilingual Verbal aptitude test, I think is what it stands for. I think Jim Cummins produced the assessment. And what that assessment is you, in their native language, and the assessment only covers certain languages, of course. You show them a series of pictures and you say, and what is this? And what is this? Then there's analogies, antonyms, synonyms. And then the questions that they got wrong, no, I'm lying to you. I did that backwards. I'm sorry. You first ask them all in English, and then all the questions they got incorrect, you ask them in their native language to see what the discrepancy is. If they're able to not answer in English, but answer in their native language, then you know that it's an ESL issue. If they're able to answer all of them in English and none of them in their native language, ooh, that's trickier. That means that they're not literate. They're not, they may struggle more because they don't have that foundation to fall back on of their native language. But that kind of helps a little bit. And there's also some nonverbal tests that our psychologists can do in order to kind of weed that out a little bit more. But I think at that point, I would employ your ESL teacher or a coordinator or whoever you might have in arm's reach to advocate for that student. And I think it's taking good documentation and writing down all the different things that you're trying as the classroom teacher. If other people are supporting that student, reading support or whatever it might be, getting all of that data, and really being able to show, hey, this is what I've done, this is what's working, this is what's not working. I don't think it's an ESL issue. I think it's something else. So I think it really behooves you to do a lot of that data stuff. So Sharon, you said I had a student on SST for 2 years and the school closed without the school doing anything for the child. It was very discouraging for me. The ESL specialist agreed with me. Sharon, I've been there. I have been there, my friend. It is hard. It is hard. Yeah. Emily, would it help to have some kind of translator to use for your high school kids, using an app to help with specific vocabulary? Yes, Emily, I have not ignored that question. I'm sorry. What are some things I can do to help high school ELLs learn science vocabulary quickly? Also, how do I help them with written responses? One course I teach is only 9 weeks and is made to be fast-paced. All right. Here are my thoughts on it. There are a lot of different vocabulary techniques. I've seen some where you would take a sheet of paper, and you would fold it into fours, so to speak. You would put the word, a picture, the definition, and then put it in a sentence. It's kind of juvenile, but it's visual. Having them look up the word is also going to help with dictionary skills, because a lot of states allow students to use dictionaries as an accommodation on assessments. But Jen, I do like the idea as well. I think in the box with the word, you could put the English word and then their L1 word. So English, Japanese, English, Telugu, or whatever. And I think it really is just repetition. My thought on the written responses is I say cut back on the written responses. Am I assuming that it's another teacher giving this assessment, or is this you? I think it is you because you're in agriculture. I would maybe give those questions verbally and have them answer verbally to you. Maybe if you have 5, let's call it 4, maybe do 2 written, 2 verbal. If they're intermediate, I think if they're beginner or pre-functional, I say they're all verbal answers or have them draw a picture if possible. I think we need to get past this idea that, and I'm not assuming that you're thinking this, Emily, don't get me wrong, but I think we need to get past this idea that that our ESL students have to be doing the exact same work as our mainstream students. It's such a misnomer. A student who has just walked into the country is not going to be able to do this. They're going to need more hands-on things. They're going to need more time to take the test. They may need more time to learn the content. They may need it at a lower level, not watering it down, but what is the goal? What are the standards that they need to meet? And what and how can you get them to understand it? It can be, I've got a word, words, here are the definitions, match the word to the definition. Doesn't even need to be paper pencil. They can just move the cards. They can speak their answers into the computer, into their phone, whatever it is. Sometimes we have to think outside the box and allow our kids just some different avenues to getting the information to you. Our kids are going to be so much better at speaking than writing. So encourage them to speak it. Jen, you say, Emily, if you can't sit with them to do the verbal response, you could have them record it. Exactly. Great thought there, my friend. Generally have them answer questions such as, what is agriculture? That is an easy question. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe they were a little bit harder questions, but yeah, I mean, I think still, maybe if they're not able to verbalize it, say you have agriculture and then you have 3 or 4 different pictures. One is agriculture, one is a hospital, one is, and they pick out which one it is. I think for our low kids, I think what I have found too sometimes is the special ed teachers in the building have great ideas on how to accommodate. I was in a 5th grade social studies class a few years back, and the teacher, they had to learn the 50 states. And so the special ed teacher made this huge map of the United States, and it had all the outlines of the states, and then they had Velcro pieces that they used to match the states. It was fabulous. You can use puzzles for that too. But any way they can manipulate and use their hands a little bit more, it sinks in for some students. Yeah, I would, Emily, let me see if I can find some vocabulary resources for you. I am going to write myself a note and write that down. If there are things that you would like me to kind of research a little bit for you or find some more information, I do want to find some different websites that can help. I'm going to write myself just a little note here and employ some of my people and see what they can tell me as well. Sorry. And what was the other thing? Oh, English. Jennifer, music and song is great. You would say that as the music teacher. That's awesome. English learning websites for older students. I'm wondering, can I ask you that are on here, can you throw your Twitter handles over here in the question and answer, um, so I can um, make sure that I follow you all, number one, and that I can follow up with you. Um, so some other things I wanted to talk about is visuals and how important visuals are in classrooms. I kind of touched upon it before, but which is so what I'm not doing here because I'm just talking. But one thing that you want to do is that when you are talking to your students, you want to write down as much as you can. If you are an upper grade teacher who requires your students to take notes, give them a handwritten, or not a handwritten, doesn't need to be handwritten. Give them a copy of your notes so they can see it, so they're not spending all their time writing, and they can look at yours and maybe highlight as they go. And one suggestion to Emily, to go back with the vocabulary, is if you do have an ESL teacher or maybe a reading support teacher who is working with the students. I'm so foreign, or high school is so foreign to me. So if I'm way off, tell me. What I would recommend is giving your vocabulary to those teachers, and they can pre-teach it. The students would come in kind of already having an idea of what those words are. And so I would encourage you to try that as well. If you don't have, excuse me, if you don't have an ELL teacher who can do that for you, see if you can send it home with the parents and see if they would help. And now I know that's not everybody's going to do it, but it might be helpful in some way. And Emily, I see you do not have Twitter. I think we need to change that. So having visuals is so important. Not talking in the air, writing down what you're saying, and keeping the things up on the walls so they can comment on what is what I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry. I have notifications that pop up on my computer, and I have such ADD that I have to look at them. But really having those visuals to support the students is going to help them. And when they are learning new vocabulary, having the pictures tied with the word is going to help support that as well. I just want to look. Lisa, couldn't comment within your Hangout. Didn't give me the option to do so. Lisa, if you're listening, oh, nuts. I think what you need to do is, if you're in the Hangout, okay, go over to the side, to the left side where all of those things pop up. So at the top it says chat, screen share, showcase, question answer. I think you have to enable the app. Now, can you guys see this? That is the chat. And if it works, why didn't I use it 12 hours ago? I don't know. But ladies, if you're on there, try adding that app. You just click on it and it just says yes or no, and it goes away. And it'll allow you to see the questions. You know what? I don't think it's letting me. Maybe it's just the Q&A. Okay. Oh, Emily, you have one ESL teacher for 5 buildings. Email. You can also Google Hangout. If you're a Google district, have a Google Doc that you're talking back and forth through. I would encourage that. If you can't give a copy of notes. You could allow students to take pictures of the notes with their phones. That's a great idea, Jen. For vocabulary, I've used a quadrant vocab sheet I made. First box, student writes the words. Second box, student writes the definition in their own words. I love that. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Claudia. I am going to copy your, no, that's not what I want. Oh, there's my notes. I will copy that so I can go on Twitter later and find you. Yeah, technology is amazing, isn't it, Jen? We can just take pictures of what we're doing. It's crazy. Emily, I feel bad that there's just one teacher for 5. It's just not cool. That's not cool at all. That's your district's fault, I think. There are areas around me that have much more support than others. That's the way it works somehow, and I don't get it. It's a disservice for our kids, and when we are not supporting our kids, it's them. They're the ones that are hurting. It's not us. So we need to help with that. All right, Irene, you say also have the students write a phrase in their language on the first day so everyone can see that they are all learning. I love that. That is great. Sometimes I will have my students, because they are younger, write books in their native language if they're able, and then in their in English as well. Oh, Irene, you said no. What are you saying? Oh, okay. Let me see that, Lisa. Oh, you know why? Okay. Huh. Let me look and see what I'm doing. I might be doing something incorrectly. Let me see. I'm sorry you guys can't talk. I'm sorry. This is my first time. I'm still trying to learn. Okay. Did it change for you? Let me take these off. Let me see if that helps. Okay. Emily, how many years have you been teaching? That's awesome. Thank you for your kind words. I could really ramble all night about ESL students because I love it so much. That's all right, Lisa. No worries. She said, sorry, found it. It's okay. But if you could throw in your Twitter handle, if you have it, or Emily threw in her email address, that's cool. There are a couple things that I'd like to follow up with some of you. I also wrote a blog post about this chat. So if you go to that website, if you go to my site, you'll see the top post is for today, and I put the questions in there, and also the links to this Hangout and then to the YouTube video. So I think we're winding down. Let's see. Got it. Oh, year 3. Good for you, Emily. Good for you. But you can see my Twitter handle there. If you are still having troubles getting the question and answer column there on the right, just follow me on Twitter and I can follow you back. Some other things I was going to talk about was, and we kind of did a little bit about the support that we have at our schools and what we would like, um, um, what kind of support we would like in an ideal world, which would be great. And I was also, going to talk about, well, let's say you have a brand new non-English speaking student walk in your classroom on day one. What is it that you're going to do to help them? I know a lot of teachers will come to us and say, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do?" I know our ELL department at the elementary school that I was at these past 2 years, we have used a lot of our budget money. If you have a budget, we've used a lot of our budget money to buy iPad minis, and some of those have gone into the classrooms to help the teachers communicate early on, and then we usually will get those back and start using some different learning apps with them. And I saw Irene still can't see it. She also said, in regards to the 4-box vocabulary graphic organizer, hang them up for a gallery walk. Students can see what other groups did. I love that idea. And then again, they could take pictures. Okay, it's okay. I'm listening and participating. Well, I appreciate the participation, my friend. And I'm sorry it's not working. Again, this was the first time I've ever done a Google Hangout on air. And I think it's been okay. But I see that it has not been working for everybody. So Emily, you could not see my site earlier. Let me see, does the screen pop up, my friend? Let's see. Oh, is it? Can you, oh, okay. Can you see it there on the side? So, you know what? Let me share my screen. I know we're running out of time here, but I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see it even better. Ooh, oh my gosh. Wow, that's a crazy screen. Let me get out of that. So here's my blog. It is just melissaeddington.com, which is obviously my name. So here is the post that I created moments before I came on. There are some of the questions I was going to talk about. You can, I would encourage you to leave a comment if you have some other questions. You can also follow right up here if you'd like. And I also have a short page, I'm still growing it, of some ELL resources. In the state of Ohio and some other states that I've listed here, we are doing the ELPA 21 standards. Color in Colorado is another great site. EverythingESL.net. Judy Haynes has a fabulous site. And she also runs a Twitter chat on Monday evenings at 9 p.m. Hashtag ELL chat. This is another Racky's Rad Resources. I just came across this, and she has a lot of great suggestions. ESL teaching tips using real life items. Realia is so important for kiddos. If they don't know what a peach is, bring in a peach. Have them eat it. Talk about that. So here are some different things there. And she has some great tips. Here's Color in Colorado. Here's the ELPA 21 site. And then other states are using WIDA. That's how you pronounce WIDA. WIDA, and their ELL standards. If you'd like, what I'll do is I'll put these links back. I'll put the links in my blog post. Oh, I just had a panic that my Hangout wasn't working anymore, but you guys saw it. But I will put those on there, and so you can get to them quickly. Let me go back to the questions and answers. We have like just seconds left. just wanted to see. Emily, thank you. You are welcome. Sharon, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your Twitter handle there as well, my friend. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to me ramble for an hour. Woo. And please reach out to me if you have any questions. If you go to my blog, there's also some posts regarding visuals and accommodations and different things. So feel free to hit me up on Twitter. You can email me. My email address is meddington77@gmail.com. And or you can contact me through Google Plus or however else you want to find me. But I have enjoyed it. Thank you for all your questions. And if you ever want to Google Hangout again, we can talk one-on-one if need be. So I hope you all have a great night, and I hope EdCamp Global was all that you thought it would be. Good night.